So, hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. So today we have a virtual fireside chat. We've got Rasha Alshami with us. She's the founder of LYNEports. Alina is the founder of Eddytech, and Damon is a startup mentor. He works for Boeing. I'm going to let them take the floor, introduce themselves, and tell us a bit about why we're here today, and what their experience was like with us at the AX pitch competition that took place last July. Rasha, please feel free to kickstart.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Steph, and thank you to AX for having us. It really means the world to us that we're taking part of this event. So a little bit about myself. I'm the founder and CEO of LYNEports. We are a software company that focuses on helping and finding locations for aerodromes and vertiports. And we're using very, very interesting and intelligent software technologies on helping and finding locations for aerodromes and vertiports. And we're using very, very interesting and intelligent software technology to this also includes helping in finding the safe, suitable site locations for various aircrafts. And this is a little bit about us.
Thank you so much for the intro, Rasha. Alina, please, floor is yours.
Yeah, great, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. My name is Alina Chanaewa. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Eddytech. We are a hardware company, and we are on a mission to make defect detection in carbon fiber composites faster, simpler, and more cost-effective. And as there's more carbon fiber composites are being used in aircraft, with our devices, we will contribute to faster regular maintenance and maintenance upon incident, and that should result in faster turnarounds and therefore for cost savings for the airlines. And it's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the intro. Damon, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my name's Damon. I'm not a founder, but I work for Boeing, and I've been involved in the AX program since coming back to Boeing from a startup called Lilium in Germany about 2.5 years ago now, working closely with Rasha and getting the opportunity to, work with other founders as well. I can see Manuel's on the call as well. Welcome, Manuel. Thanks for joining. That's me. I'm based in Dubai. So big focus on the Middle East at the minute, learning quite a lot about this region, and that's me.
Thank you so much. So let's get straight to it. You guys are here because you won the pitch competition back at Farnborough last July. So for Rasha and Alina, what did that mean to you? What did winning the AX pitch competition, how did it affect your business? What kind of doors did it open? In terms of funding, in terms of partnerships or visibility. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, happy to go first. I mean, and let me just add a little bit of story element to this. It honestly started a little bit earlier than the pitch competition. I think I spoke with Gianna in 2024, early 2024. And I was almost stalking AX heavily on finding, what is the next opportunity. I really wanted to be a part of the program. And I thought it was a very interesting program because it also supports women in the aviation industry. But most importantly, I really saw the great portfolio that AX has. And I remember back in January, I spoke with Gianna and she told me, hey, just like sign up for the newsletter and follow our news because there's going to be upcoming opportunities in the summer. So the minute we received that email that there is a pitch competition, we were thinking, shall we go? Shall we not go? We weren't sure. We were still early. Obviously, we were bootstrapped back then. So it had, a little bit of financial toll on us. So we were really debating and we said, you know what, let's go. What comes up, comes up. And obviously, when we presented, that was the first pitch that we had. We have never pitched before. So getting the valuable insights and feedback, even during the pitch, I think, I don't know if you remember, but I had recorded the scene. So coming back to it and, understanding what was that feedback, what were those questions that the AX team had, obviously added a lot of value to us and pushed us even forward. Yes, obviously, receiving the 6,000 K from AX, that was obviously really, really helpful. I mean, coming back with double the amount is really great. But to be honest, what's most important than the cash itself was the mentorship. I mean, Gabi, Gianna, and Will, and others within the AX team were so fundamentally helpful, even though that I was so annoying, but with many questions. But the fact that they were supporting us and helping us and mentoring us along the way, we wouldn't have made it to where we are today. And obviously, Damon, I forgot to mention you, Damon. I think you're already a given within the team. And Damon, of course, for supporting us and helping us through the process. And this is something that is priceless. It's more than anything in the world. And I have to really give it to Damon because he's supporting us in every single aspect within our growth.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the answer, Rasha. I think that really, that says a lot about the kind of support that startups need. Financial support is a given, of course, but mentorship it tends to be overlooked at times, especially for new founders. And we're going to have a couple more questions surrounding mentorship in a minute. So, but in the meantime, Alina, I'd love for you to answer that first question. What kind of doors did winning the pitch competition open for Eddytech?
Yeah, I think visibility for us was a really big one, because Aerospace Accelerated is already a very strong brand. It is recognized also worldwide. So, and the aerospace industry being naturally much more conservative, risk averse, especially when working with startups, that helped us a lot. So finding traction and this kind of stamp of approval from AX really helped us in our current conversations and in further manifesting our partnerships within the industry. And also the recent funding that we just received at the beginning of this year from the Dutch government. I think we had to pitch in front of the jury after we won the competition. So I think all the awards or all the kind of additional stamps of approval that we were able to receive specifically from the industry, that helped a lot in convincing the jury that we are worth investing in us. So that's I think that helped us a lot.
That's amazing. And I've been following both of your pages since the competition, and every other week something will pop up on my feed, like a new award or new recognition. So it's really, really nice to see that, a lot of that stemmed from the pitch competition and beyond. So it's great to hear that you guys have been what you guys have been up to since then. So back to the question of mentorship, Rasha, you were mentioning that a lot. Can you tell us a bit about how the mentorship that you received through AX helped you tackle any key challenges or any obstacles that you were facing with your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first, mentors are really like your best friends that you didn't know that you needed. So they're people that you connect with, you create deeper level of communication and connection with, who also believe in your vision. And this is what Damon has been doing with us. He's believed in our vision. He also has supporting us with many challenges. Also, how do we think about certain things? How do we grow, not only professionally, but also personally, and building that persona for the company as well, right? If you have mentors that are supporting you and bridging your gaps that exist within the company, that's obviously really, really valuable. And I think for us, the mentorship was by far the most valuable part, as I mentioned, from the entire experience. And I think it just really speaks highly of AX, because it was, I remember it was almost every week that we get, or 2 weeks that we get on a mentorship session. If we have a question or something that we would require some help with, AX had a massive library of mentors that it would connect us with. And I think for us, Damon in particular, he's not just a mentor, he's also a real friend, but a huge part of this journey really was supported by him and supporting us growing within also Boeing, and creating our own type of playbook within what we want to do with the company. So I think that's a more of a golden card that we could have. And of course, we're really lucky to have had not only Damon, but also the entire AX team supporting us with this.
Thank you so much for the answer, Rasha. I guess this will allow me really to segue on to you, Damon. So you were Rasha's mentor for 6 months, and I guess kind of ongoing since you have built that relationship already. So as her mentor, can you tell us a little bit about how you've seen her evolve over the course of those 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a cheat code with Rasha, to be honest, because I knew Rasha from Lillian from about 4 years ago. So we actually met there. And I'll never forget the first day that I actually met Rasha. I was the head of aircraft assembly at the time, so we're in the middle of building Phoenix 3, one of our prototype aircraft, in a really busy hangar. And Rasha was focused on prototyping more on the architectural side, getting ready for the new infrastructure in that eVTOL sector. So she came into the hangar. We set up a space for her. She was using a prototyping area to basically build a physical mock-up of a vertiport, which I'd never seen before. I mean, I don't think anybody has ever seen them before. So the way she went about it is just it really caught my attention. I mean, I've been in talent acquisition for the best part of 15 years now. So assembling, key player teams all around the world doing different things, the first things, and even amongst that crowd, Rasha stood out from the crowd. I think it was about a passion and drive and just that level of independence that she had. I mean, she came in for a week with all the distractions going around. I mean, like the Phoenix is a pretty iconic aircraft there that was just literally meters across the hangar. Didn't bat an eyelid, went about her business, and at the end of it, I just couldn't believe what she produced. So that was what kind of got my attention. And doing something at the interface of aerospace and construction and architecture was something new to me as well. So I found it really interesting, and Rasha as a person there caught my attention. So then it was just after coming back to Boeing. So I left Boeing in 2022. I think Rasha shortly after me or before me. She'd started LYNEports, and now obviously. I've got involved with the AX program early on, helping out some of the startups in cohort 11, and then we just kind of came together. I think since I've started mentoring Rasha, just seeing her grow as a leader and seeing the kind of the team that she's built up around her and the way that she's been able to bring people along as well. I think the team are a testament to her as well. And she's really, shown those qualities as a kind of human-centric leader. And now, obviously, pioneering what she's doing, suddenly seeing her name popping up in different, public recognition, whether it's like, top influencers or, entrepreneurial top lists, things like that. So I think she's going from strength to strength, but I think, that's what I was saying in terms of the growth that I've seen personally.
Thank you so much for that answer, Damon. This question will focus a little bit more on Rasha and Alina's experience from their side, their perspective. What is a piece of advice that your mentor has given you that's really stuck with you? Alina, maybe you can go first.
Yeah, good questions. There are so many good pieces of advice, and maybe not a certain piece of advice, but I think you need to hear certain things several times from different people, so it kind of starts to make sense. And I think it's from I kind of had a conversation with other founders, and what we all agree on that. We don't need just one mentor, because there is not this one person who can take us by the hand and guide us through the whole journey, because also our questions evolve, our needs do evolve. So we really need a whole cohort of mentors and supporters who can help us in certain situations. I really don't have just this one piece of advice, but definitely we do need help. We do need support. And sometimes just a very simple piece of advice can help change the whole course of action, if that comes in the right moment, right? But for that, you need to have this cohort of people who can support you, and the serendipity that you also can that you have enough interaction and find time to and opportunities to interact with mentors in a meaningful way, of course, and to really receive the right advice in the right moment.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you need to hear the right thing from the right mentor, but also be in a position where you're ready to accept that piece of advice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That makes complete sense.
Thank you for the summary.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but has anything ever stood out? Like if you were to to give us an example of one of those moments where something just clicked. Do you happen to have something like that?
Maybe something in this particular moment, what really is a lot on our mind, because we are hiring, and hiring the right people is really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I also heard this piece of advice that you need to hire for potential and for motivation. And I was also looking a lot of at the background of people, of course, because if you hire, especially for technical roles, you want to see that people have a certain skill set. But in reality, especially at the early stage, like we are, what mainly matters is potential and motivation. And that was very valuable. So now I'm kind of shifted a little bit my set of requirements, or like the weight in requirements. I guess
absolutely. And that goes hand in hand, I think, with what Damon was saying earlier about, being a founder, but also being in a leader, automatically being in a leadership role. You can be a founder with fantastic ideas, like technical ideas, new technologies. You can be a real innovator, but at the end of the day, if you're not building the right team to support you, there's only so far there. You can only get so far. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point that you raised, Alina. Thank you for that. Rasha, I'd love to hear your perspective on that. Is there anything that stood out? Any particular piece of advice from Damon, or maybe another mentor that you've had over your journey? But yeah, if you could share that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I first of all, I have to admit, I have to agree with Alina that it's really hard to pick one. But on top of my head, I could think about when Damon, I spoke to him about the team and how could we build a strong team. And he once told me that it's not just about the team, it's about building the company and finding the right talented people to support you with your mission and to believe in you, which is very similar to what Alina was sharing earlier. And finding those people that are passionate, that are committed. It's not an easy job, even though that, when you're the CEO, you kind of want to find those people that are so motivated in the same way that you are, and would like to build a company with you the same way as you do. And I think that piece is kind of the hardest job to kind of nail down. But Damon had amazing advice regarding this and helping us building our team and grow to where we are today. And I'm very, very proud to say that LYNEports is built with an amazing, passionate team that are working day out and day in to support that. And then obviously from Gabi, because I also see her on the call today, I cannot get out of my head when she gave me the advice about creating a manual of me. So that was a really, really helpful advice, which is basically kind of getting to know each other and getting to know your partners, getting to know your colleagues. I think that is a really important piece when it comes to knowing your peers, your supporters that are helping you. And another one I could think of is from Will, who reminded me of something that is really often overlooked, which is the value of consistency and connections, and making sure that you're always building up that network and connecting with those people and building those relationships. And then there's so many. I mean, I could go on and on and on with every single person, but these are the ones that stuck that I could share on top of my head.
Thank you so much. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Like you said, there's so many different bits and pieces of advice that different mentors can give you at different points that add value. And I think it's the overall like accumulation of all of those that make the company what they are. So thank you both for sharing. And this next question that's directed more so to Damon, there's a lot that Alina and Rasha mentioned about advice that they've received. And so for you as a startup mentor, what are some of the challenges that you see aerospace startups facing? And is there any particular way that you would help founders navigate through them?
Yeah, I think in particular in aviation, it can take quite a long time to start building up trust and credibility. So far, I've not seen any fast track or way to kind of circumvent that process. Anywhere in the world, it does just take time. Obviously, startups they do tend to lack that kind of horsepower and resource, especially if it's like a bootstrap, starting things off on a shoestring budget and so on. So I think that can definitely be a challenge, and it's just a generally heavy burden on founders, managing everything. So apart from having the idea to begin with and setting all of that up, trying to build a team around them, trying to navigate, all the setting up of entities and things like that. I think finding multipliers is really important, and supporters on that journey. So I think some of the ways that I've helped some of the startups. So with LYNEports, for example, making industry connections inside and outside of Boeing as well. Supporting with partnership development, MOU development, and just, as I say, generally acting as a multiplier for that founder, acting as an ambassador for the company, with LYNEports, for example, in this region, to help just, spread the word, increase the kind of footprint. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. The three of you have mentioned, some of the challenges for startups in aerospace, or startups more generally. I guess in aerospace, it would be, building trust, building credibility, and there's no way around it. That just takes time. It takes finding the right person to vouch for you. And I guess for startups more generally and across sectors, it's hiring the right team to support you. I guess Rasha and Alina, what has been so far the biggest challenge in scaling your business? Has it been more so on the team building side? Has it been more so in the industry side? Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you've managed to navigate it? I guess, Alina, maybe you can start.
Sure. Yes. So I think you named already the industry, of course, that will be building partnerships and building good, building a good profile in the industry is extremely important, and it was at the beginning a challenge. Of course, the communities like EX, but also other aerospace specific accelerators and communities are extremely helpful, because you kind of get to join, on the one hand, other startups that have similar challenges, but also the ecosystem around that is supportive of building the relationships in the industry. So that has been invaluable for us. And the other big one is funding. I mean, funding is always a bit challenging, especially for us being a hardware. I think any startup, but hardware specifically, we have a technology, so we're moving still up to the technology readiness level ladder, so to say, towards a product, and that takes time and money, of course, and also moving through this technology readiness levels, you also need partnerships where you can demonstrate the potential of the technology or the prototypes with the partners. So really, here two things are coming together: partnerships, strong partnerships, and also funding. But I guess visibility for sure helped us. I mentioned that earlier, definitely with the latest funding. And that's also good to see that there's also some corporate venture funds that are also around, also industry specific. But again, we need slightly, or us as a company will require slightly higher TRL in order to be able to really benefit from that. But then again, they already heard of us, hopefully by then. So that's definitely helps. So for us, funding and partnerships been the most challenging, I guess. But we're still around, so I guess that's a good sign.
Definitely a good sign. Thank you so much, Alina, for the answer. Rasha, please go ahead.
Yeah, for us, the biggest challenges have been to navigate the growth part, but also staying resource efficient and focusing on, delivering something that is valuable, especially while we're being bootstrapped at the moment. And we're operating in a super complex industry. And actually, we're operating in two complex industries, which is aviation and urban planning. And we are building something new. We're building something that doesn't really fit into the existing categories that we're mostly know of. And that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of market education, building trust, as Damon was sharing earlier, and proving that there's value in what you're providing. So obviously these are all part of the challenges, but having also to introduce something new as a software that we're doing, and introducing a whole new approach into how you do it, takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of education, as I mentioned, especially when you want to talk to, one of the corporate companies that you would like to obviously onboard. But even though that part was not as challenging as just speaking to the public and speaking to the market and speaking to the normal people to understand what we are doing. And I would say the having the mentors that helped us understand, how do we clearly communicate us? How do we clearly mention to everyone what we're doing, but in a very easy and agile way? And how do we adapt our ways, and how do we adapt our work and our software so people would understand what we have? And obviously having different views and different, let's say, advices from different mentors, that helped us a lot. I emphasize a lot on the mentorship because it is something that a lot of startups probably don't underestimate, and maybe they see that the funding part is the only piece, or the only important piece. While it is, I agree with that, but mentorship is really important. And as Damon shared, when you have someone that is supporting you and giving you that credibility, that provides already that market validation, that other companies will be willing, or other customers or people will come and be willing to listen to you and understand what is it that you're trying to grow.
Thank you so much for the answer. Honestly, it's, there's a lot that we can go over in terms of how, navigating the startup landscape as, founders in aerospace, which is already such a tricky industry to establish yourselves in. But I think that, both of you highlighted some very clear, very important issues and ways that you've navigated it. So thank you both for that. There's a question I had in mind that I'd love to ask to Rasha and Damon. Damon, you mentioned earlier in the call that you're based in Dubai. Rasha, I know from some of our conversations that you're from the region originally. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the current eVTOL space is like? How is it evolving? And what really excites you about the future of eVTOL, and where you see LYNEports tech fitting into this ecosystem? You mentioned you're based in Romania, but can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in the region? Is there anything that you'd like to highlight or share with the attendees on the call with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you allow me, I would let Damon start, and
Yeah.
I'll add to his point.
Perfect. Sounds good. Damon, floor is yours.
Thanks, Rasha. So I would say that the Middle East is a very unique region in that it's extremely ambitious. Always looking for ways to innovate and expand the envelope. So, in my opinion, it's one of the best regions on Earth at the minute to actually introduce the LYNEports solution, because there's a massive amount of construction. Like I say, it's a very ambitious country in the UAE for a start, but all across the GCC, so Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain as well. So countries that are very receptive to these new ideas. And I think, Rasha touched on an important point earlier about just having to educate the market. But one of the qualities that Rasha's got is the ability to just make things very simple, to make things very easy, because the product that her team have developed and that she's introducing is super capable, super complex, and there's a million processes going on behind the scenes, but being able to kind of break that down and kind of consider the audience is something that she's doing a really good job of, with Hossam as well from the team. So yeah, I think this region is perfect for such a solution where it's something quite new, but at the interface of aviation and construction, something that's never been done before. If you're going to do it somewhere, I would try to do it here first.
Thank you for that. Rasha, is there anything that you'd like to add to what Damon just said?
I thank you, Damon, and thank you, Steph. So yeah, I mean the eVTOL market is obviously evolving, but really fast, and especially in regions like the GCC region in Dubai and in Saudi and other areas. But obviously, we're also seeing a little bit of push regarding the industry, but that push is to push it actually further, to move it really faster than what it is happening right now. But I think the most exciting part about the space is that it's really not the future anymore. It's not what we're thinking about, oh, it's going to come in, I don't know when, in 10 years. It's actually happening now. And we're seeing a lot of eVTOL companies that are shaping up, and they're already doing so many test flights. They're flying everywhere in the world. And we're seeing a lot of incredible momentum in those regions, as Damon has shared, in Dubai, in US, Brazil, UK, Asia, and way beyond that. And obviously the aircrafts are being developed, and there's still some spotlights and questions there. But this is where LYNEports comes in. It really helps cities understand, how do we integrate these aircrafts while being developed and while the regulations is shaping up in our cities safely and properly, without making, major adjustments into the city fabric. And this requires a lot of work, and it requires an ecosystem. And that's literally what LYNEports software does. It's not just another software that is out there. No, it really helps various stakeholders, from architects, urban planners, engineers, policymakers, regulators, you name it, to actually find those locations. And they would be strategic where demands are, and they're running on advanced algorithms and machine learned data to help find those sites, and make an industry out of this. And ultimately, for us, we see ourselves as lowering the barrier for new stakeholders to enter this new aviation market, and whether it's to come to form a built environment or infrastructure or mobility sector, we have the tool for that. So I think with regards to the whole industry, obviously it is just to kind of put the nail in there. It is seeing really great momentum, but it's still missing key components in order to happen. And this is why we're here. This is what LYNEports is helping with that, enabling this industry.
Thank you so much for the answer, Rasha. I just noticed a question in the chat. I know we said we take them towards the end of the call, but this is a perfect question that's going to then allow me to segue onto the next one that I had in mind. So Petra's asking a question specifically for Damon. Knowing how hard it is to find the time for innovation in a big corporate like Boeing, how do you make the time, and why is it something that's important to you? Can you tell us a little bit about, why you decided to make the time in what I imagine is a very busy schedule that you might have at Boeing? Why do you make the time for innovation? Why do you make the time to mentor startups?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I think it's very important to stay connected to what's going on around, what's going on outside, and keep that kind of inside out perspective of the industry. So coming from a startup, going through, from Series A to going public via IPO at Lilium, that was an amazing feeling. And coming back to Boeing definitely has its merits, but you do sort of sometimes miss that pace, the pace of it all, the raw innovation. So being able to stay connected with that, more fast moving, innovative, forward thinking, that's sort of like a speedboat alongside a big ship. Making time for that was really important to me. Obviously, I'm studying an MBA at the moment as well, so I think following that path is probably something that I'll be looking to do down the line. Maybe something complementary, but it's all great learning. So for me, it's really important to make time to keep in touch with innovative products and solutions. And yeah.
May I add to Damon? I think secretly
Yes.
he has 72 hours in a day where he manages to help everyone and do a master's and be a Boeing. So, but he doesn't admit that.
I mean, I can imagine that, with a schedule like the one that he has, there's definitely, there has to be some type of prioritization going on. But it's always good to see, people who are so passionate about the work that they do. And we have startups like you guys who make the time to take in all of that feedback that's so necessary. You said it yourself, funding's important, but mentorship and the community that you build around your companies are equally, if not more so. And then, mentors like Damon who take time out of their day to support innovation because they understand the impact that it can have on an industry as a whole. So thank you both for highlighting that. And I did mention that Petra's question is going to allow me to segue to this next one. This is also for you, Damon. It's kind of twofold, right? Can you tell us a little bit about how mentoring has benefited you personally, and if you have any advice for those who are also looking to mentor?
Yeah, so I think for me, mentoring's benefited me in several ways. So I can guarantee that I learn a lot more from Rasha than she learns from me in every interaction. So I think it's been massively beneficial for me. It's very much reciprocal. But I think, yeah, as we were just saying, staying in touch, staying connected with innovations that you really believe in, that you believe can add value. So the LYNEports products, 100%. It's great to see Manuel on as well from Kit AR. I think that they've got an amazing product. So that's something else that I'm really, really excited about. And I see the areas where it can add value to the market. So it kind of motivates you to act as a multiplier and help them along. So yeah, I mean, how to approach business development activities in the Middle East has been another thing. So acting as an extension of the LYNEports team in some aspects has been really helpful in that regard. So understanding the quirks and different ways to approach business development has been quite helpful. So yeah, it's been beneficial in a lot of ways. And I'd say that for anybody that's looking to mentor, you don't have to have all the answers, first of all. I definitely don't. But I think, being able to network, connect people, make those introductions, add value in other ways. I think if you do really believe in the product and in the startup and in the founder, importantly as well, there's a load of different ways you can add value. Don't mentor for mentoring's sake, I would say as well. So, there's no point in just doing it for the sake of it, and prepare for emotional highs and lows. So there's a lot of ups and downs involved along the way. Even with some of the most innovative value-adding products that are out there, it's a tough ride. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess for the founders in the room, same question, but how do you benefit from that relationship with your mentor? What can you do to really make the most of it? Rasha and Alina, please feel free to answer that. But also, I know that we have other founders in the room. So if there's anything that you'd like to share with us in the chat, please feel free, and I'll make sure to read them for those watching the recording later on. But please, is there any way that that founders can make the most out of a founder-mentor relationship?
Shall I go first?
Yes, please, Alina.
Yeah, I think it's always. I mean, we are on our own journey, so we're making our own mistakes for sure and learning from that. But it's also great if there's something. I think one of the learnings I had actually is that as a founder, what we actually always looking at is a de-risking, right? So like looking out for, of course, to the outside, we want to celebrate our successes, but like towards the inside, day to day, we're actually looking for all the ways how it can go wrong. So whatever we're, or at least it's for me, whatever I'm approaching, is it fundraise? Is it hiring someone? If I feel that there is something that I know there is a risk, for example, I haven't hired this particular profile, or I haven't talked to this particular group of investors, then it is very beneficial to go and talk to someone, a mentor or an advisor who already has experience in that area, so I can be at my best, or prepared in the best way possible for the conversation or for the hiring, for the interview. So I learned a lot just from other people's experiences as well. So what kind of questions to ask, or potentially have a task that can be, for example, executed during the interview, especially if it's a technical role. So things where I probably wouldn't have thought necessarily of myself, or maybe felt like it's too much to ask of a candidate, maybe, where other people would just like, no, this is how it went for me. That was the benefit. And when I've done it the way you're doing it, that went wrong. So it's also, I think this is this is how I typically try to use my network of advisors and mentors, basically just trying to look for the let's say blank spots that I have that I'm aware of. Obviously, there are some I'm not aware of, but the ones I'm aware of, I can just go and try to get some feedback, some input, some ideally also actionable advice. So that's why I'm trying, because sometimes it's maybe a little bit too theoretical. So I'm trying to ask, so what kind of question would you really ask? So how would you formulate that, just to have like a little starting point? So I really definitely very much appreciate some practical advice, how to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a time for the theoretical and a time for the practical. I guess it's about finding that balance. Thank you so much for the answer, Alina. Rasha, is there anything that you'd like to add to that?
I think Damon and Alina have covered almost everything. So, I mean, mentorship, as I said, and I still stand by it, mentorship is something really valuable. It's the golden card that any startup would be really lucky to have. And it really pushes the company forward.
Thank you so much. So I guess before we wrap up, I've got another question for both of you, Rasha and Alina. You know, competitions like the AX Pitch competition, they're a great platform, but they're also just one milestone in a startup's overall journey. So what kind of advice would you give to founders on keeping the momentum after a big win?
So for me, I think what was really, really valuable, I kind of didn't really expect it, is that I had a chance to connect with the jury members and the other founders during the competition. Mm-hmm. And now these people are our supporters and champions in the industry. And this is what I'm extremely grateful for. This is something I didn't really expect. And just to say it one more time, the pitching and the funding or looking for funding paired really well for us as well. So really having had this visibility through AX, and you guys are amazing in social media. So that looks always extremely, extremely neat. And it's very, very recognizable brand. So I have people approaching me and saying, oh, so you won that. So that's definitely helped us to increase our visibility. So yeah, appreciate that. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for the answer. And I guess a special shout out has to go to Nicole here. She's on the call with us. Nicole's a marketing lead at AX, and she handles all the socials. So shout out to you, Nicole.
Thank you very much, guys.
Rasha, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, you know, how should a founder handle a big win like that, and what can they do following that win to really reap the rewards?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, first of all, it was a little bit unexpected when we won, but I would say first celebrate your win. That's a must, but don't also let the moment, you know, be your peak. It's also about, you know, working really hard even after you get to win and you get that part. And I think, you know, after AX, for us, we didn't stop. We followed up. We tried to make connections and making sure that there's, you know, feedback loop on there, making sure that we're building partnerships, keep the momentum going even after we get that peak. And there's always going to be more wins and more wins as you grow. And, you know, strengthen that part within you is really important. And I have to admit, I mean, it's been 6 months, so our mentorship program has ended, but I really miss it. And I think Gabby and Gianna knows best that it was a sad moment when I said, please, can we keep the connection? So of course for us it's really important to keep on going, and it's not just, you know, another win. Obviously that has a tremendous value, and as Alina said, you know, having that visibility on social media and getting recognition by a really wonderful program is a huge peak. But it's not only that, it's also about working really hard afterwards. So I would say it's a combination of both in a way. But yeah, I obviously we're very thankful for AX, for the team, for Gabby, for Damon, for Nicole, for you, Steph, for everyone.
Thank you so much, Rasha. And you know, one last question for all three of you before we open it up to the questions that are in the chat. What's the big goal for 2025 and beyond?
Sorry, go ahead, Rasha. No, go ahead.
So thank you, Alina. For us, I think we're just getting started. So this is just the beginning for us. I think for 2025, we're thinking beyond just eVTOLs, beyond just AAM. We're thinking about really looking at the whole ecosystem of aviation, including all types of aircrafts. And we're seeing a tremendous traction with our new LYNEports version that we're working on at the moment, which is still secret sauce, I would say, but for AX, we're willing to share it. And I think we're seeing LYNEports evolving more often, and we're seeing us even enhancing our features, enhancing our unique value proposition that we're bringing to the market, and making sure that we're evolving our cutting edge solutions further. And I think that also having an accelerated growth, not only this year, but for looking for the next year, maybe we look to have new collaborations, look into building more mentorships, more connections. So if anyone is listening and you know is passionate to help us out, and whether to join us or to mentor us, we would really welcome that opportunity. So feel free to reach out.
Amazing. Thank you, Rasha. Damon, would you like to add anything? Can you tell us a bit about what your plans are for 2025 and beyond?
Sure, yeah. So finish the MBA, get that done, stop overcommitting in the meantime. And then, yeah, I think furthermore on with LYNEports and supporting their journey. I can't wait to see where it leads out here, and to, yeah, see where it takes us.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Alina?
Yeah, our next big step is to expand further our technical team, so we can actually deliver on all the projects that we're with the aerospace industry that we have committed to. So really looking forward to that, to make all the mistakes in hiring. And our ambition is to really bring our prototypes to a product level and hopefully do the first product sales next year. So we did have also generate interest from not only aerospace industries, but also with industries such as automotive, sports equipment, prosthetics. And this is something that requires at least less certification and less, this is less requirements to bring out the product. So probably these will be our beachhead markets. So we are really excited to hopefully move then not from pre-revenue to revenue next year. So fingers crossed for that.
That's amazing. I'm wishing you the best of luck with those new projects. I'd love to open it up now to the audience. There's already a couple questions in the chat, one that we've already addressed. Petra, thank you so much for submitting that. There's a few questions. I'll read them out loud, and then we can take turns answering. There's some that are, you know, for certain speakers. But the first one is for all three of you. This is a question from Manuel. A startup needs strategic focus. So with the geographic distance to the UAE region, how did you balance the resource allocation and reduce opportunities to pursue? I think you were asking this when we were talking specifically about the Middle East region and eVTOL. But yeah, I'll leave the floor open. Maybe Damon, do you want to answer first?
Yeah, I'll hand over to Rasha, but I would just say that we're in that process now, to be honest. And in terms of qualifying out opportunities, something that I'm supporting the team with, so Holsam that's based out here, with qualifying out opportunities. I'll stop there.
Great. Alina, would you like to answer?
Yeah, certainly. But I think, Rasha, did you want to just follow up on that?
Oh yeah.
Because I guess
Please feel free to add anything, Rasha.
Happy to do that. Thank you, Alina. I mean, like Damon said, we're actually figuring that out, and there's always that process of figuring things out. And I think trying to balance between managing resources and managing revenue and what you have is a really complicated process that requires a lot of attention, requires a lot of time. But also that's where you have, your best friends, your mentors to support you with that. And apologies for keeping the point on the mentors, but it's really, really important. And I think having that, the point to ask someone about this, whether this is good or do you think that is the way to go, is really helpful. I mean, I could talk about one time when we were speaking with Gabby, and she has previous experience in building startups, so we were asking literally about this: how do we manage resources and also effective delivery? And it's literally about finding the right time, finding the right people to support you with that. So it's multiple parameters that it depends on the situation that needs navigation.
Thank you for the answer, Rasha. Alina, please feel free to add anything.
Yeah, I think for us, so we are quite fortunate with the Netherlands that is very strong aerospace ecosystem here. So we are concentrating as close as possible to home at the moment, being a relatively small company at the moment. So it's mainly Netherlands and maybe Germany. So this is where our main collaboration and partnerships are.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Manuel, for the question. Hopefully that answers. But please, if there's any follow-up to that, let us know in the chat. We still have a couple minutes. But in the meantime, Leah has asked, this one's specifically for Alina. I noticed that Eddytech's a university spin-out. Any advice for students / university staff that want to build a business out of university? It feels like a lot of loopholes, complicated structures, and potential risk. Obviously, every university is different, but still. Alina, love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could be a fireside chat on its own.
I'm taking notes. I'm already planning the next one.
Great. I think in any case, knowing in advance or collecting as much as possible information in advance how the technology transfer is happening at your particular university is extremely important. And talking to other companies how this process went and what to watch out for, because especially if it's if you take the technology that has been developed at the university and use it as a basis for the startup, there are quite a few things that needs to be looked at. Is intellectual property, who is owning it, how this transfer is happening to the company, is it a license, is it actual transfer, do we need to buy it? So there's a lot of points to navigate around that. And I'm happy, the person who asked, if you would like to reach out to me and have a separate conversation offline, happy to provide more insights around that. But it's really, really critical to look at that in advance, because there will be challenges, and universities handling that depending on the university, have more or less experience, have more or less happy founders. Something to really do good due diligence, talk to other founders, and see if that's the pathway for you.
Thank you so much for the answer. We'll definitely put you in touch with Leah, who dropped the question in the chat. I'm sure that there's tons more that you guys can discuss. But would love to open it up to the rest of the audience. Are there any other questions that we have for our speakers before we wrap up today's fireside chat? Please let us know in the chat. We still have, I think, around 2 minutes before we have to wrap up. So that's let us know if there's any other questions. Oh, we've got one in the chat. This one is from Matt. Looking back at your journey so far, is there anything that you wish you'd done differently in the early stages of your startup? That's such a good question. And I know because we have other founders that, could possibly benefit from this from this answer. So, Rasha, Alina, what would you have done differently?
To be honest, nothing. Simply because every step that we have taken, whether it's in the wrong direction or the right direction, is what got us here. I think there's always a learning curve during this process. So obviously there will be some points when we think to ourselves, oh, I regret doing this or I regret doing that. But we have a saying, destiny is written for us. So no matter what direction we're going, that's going to happen. And we are heavily believers of this. So yeah, I think for us, looking back, there is nothing that we could change or we should change. I think it should remain the same. Just learn from the previous experiences and build on that for the future.
Thank you so much for that. Alina, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think I very much agree with Rasha, because now, obviously, looking back, we learned so much. So I guess if I would restart now, I would do a lot of things. Taking into account the experience, I would have done things differently. I would have done more due diligence on our technology transfer, for example, then I could have been better prepared for some of the things. But again, because it's the first, so I'm the first time founder, so that means it's a steep learning curve. And I think the most important thing is how fast can you implement the learnings? And the better we are at implementing the learnings and iterating, because we're also iterating, right? So there will be a next person that will be hired. There's a next pitch that will be pitched. So how fast can we learn and get better, right? So that's what defines. And if you're happy to learn and to do better, let's say, next time, or do differently, then I think they're all good.
Thank you so much. And with that, we're right on time. I did want to say thank you again to Rasha, to Alina, Damon for joining us today, but also to our attendees for being so engaged and asking all the right questions. If you'd like to connect with our speakers, we've dropped their LinkedIns in the chat. You can also follow their companies, LYNEports and Eddytech. The links to the pages are also in the chat. Please stay tuned to upcoming events and opportunities hosted by AX by subscribing to our newsletter. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. Please let us know if there's any other questions that pop up. We'll be around. You know where to reach us. And we really look forward to having you at our next event. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.